Whatever you think and talk about most is what you are going to create. I have no doubt in my mind, whatever you think and talk about most is what you are going to create. And the easiest example I can give you guys, never ashamed to admit this, day one of this race, 12 hours into a 12-day world championship race, I had my first thought of quitting. Remember the bug on the back? Immediately, I thought to myself, what have I done? I can't do this. I can't do this. I'm going to be a national embarrassment. I'm going to quit the world championships on day one. And I don't know if it's ever happened to any of you guys, but when you do that, you open a door in your brain, and it becomes like a train barreling down a track, right? So all I could think about was abandoning the race, just getting out of this situation. And I just thought about it all the time. I didn't talk to my teammates. It just repeated itself. And as I was considering it, I started evaluating it. Started evaluating what's going to happen if I quit right now. And I realized as a Canadian team, the criteria for being professional athletes is different in Canada than in the US. So we had to work full-time while we raced. And we had to get assistance through corporate sponsorship to afford to do this race, to buy the equipment, the entry fees, all that kind of thing. And so companies gave us flights, they gave us cash, they gave us gear. And one of those companies, a company called Specialized, gave us 4 brand new mountain bikes to go to Borneo. And these bikes are worth about $6,500 a piece. So I'm in that jungle, and I begin to contemplate quitting. And I immediately realize that if I don't ride that bike on national television, I will not get to keep it. So it was obvious. I made the immediate decision, I'll quit after the bike leg, right? I'll ride the bike, and then I'm out. So once I made that decision, I started planning quitting. I started planning it. I started planning the execution of quitting. And we get to the end of the bike leg. I'm now ready to launch into my mentally well-rehearsed quitting speech. And the press van pulls up. And the press piles out. And they've got microphones and cameras. And I'm like, oh, man, I can't quit now because they're going to film it. So I decide I'll go into the jungle a little bit. Once you got under the canopy of the jungle, they couldn't shoot you from the helicopters. The guys carrying the cameras, they're worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. They won't go into the jungle. So I'm like, I'll go into the jungle a little bit, then I'm quitting. So we get into the jungle. About 2 hours later, it's 2 o'clock in the morning. And finally, I reach out and I tap our captain, Jeff McInnes, on the shoulder. And he stops, he looks at me, and I said, Jeff, I'm done. I'm out of here. And he's like, what? Because I haven't said a word. It's like churned in my head for days. I haven't asked for help. I haven't offered a conversation. It's just been something I've been dwelling in my mind. So he looks at me and I go, yeah, I've given it a lot of thought. But you guys keep going. Because remember, they're going to be disqualified as soon as I quit. The whole team has to stay together. So I said, you guys keep going for experience. But I'm going back to the last checkpoint, and I'll meet you at the finish line. And I have to just say to you guys, I was so impressed with how Jeff handled this moment. He's the oldest member of our team. He was the most experienced. He was our captain. And I admired it so much that I ended up marrying him. years later, but married him. But he looked at me and he said, you really want to quit? And I said, yeah, I do. And I was ready. I'd had enough time. I could handle any objection he came up with. And he looks at me and he goes, okay. I was like, what? He goes, yeah, you can quit. He goes, but how about you quit at the next checkpoint? Because if you go back to the last checkpoint, we've all got to go back, right? We can't let you go in the jungle alone. Like, it's 2 hours back. So come with us, and we'll drop you at the next checkpoint. So can we just all agree? Nothing got better. Nothing got better. I didn't have a warm bed. I'm getting eaten alive by bugs. I'm covered in leeches. I don't have a warm meal. Not a single thing improved. The only thing that changed was in my mind, I said to myself, I just got to get to the next checkpoint. I just got to get to the next checkpoint. And you guys know how the story ended. Like, we made it to the finish line. That's why I'm here to remind you guys, every time you think about your ability, it should be in that positive light, what you're capable of, what other people around you are capable of. And when you start thinking about the successful direction you want to move in, you'll move towards it instead of away from it.